Hello, I'm Bobby Ammerman, and this year we're going to do a little something different with tree measurement. And I have a colleague of mine, Mr. Chad Nyman. He is a primary products force specialist, and he's also the judge of the event. So he's going to show us how this event works, and he's going to show us how we can measure a tree using a tree measurement stick or Doyle stick. Right? Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
All right. So Chad, with that, won't you talk to us a little bit about what the changes are? I guess the first thing is we're going to do it here, right?
Absolutely.
Versus if you've been here in the past at the event, we've kind of done that on the back 40, and the students have had to walk to it. So this year we're going to do it right where we done tree ID last year. That would be closer to everything else that's going on. Just be a better place to do it. But because of that, we're going to have to do something a little different. Right now we're standing in a small forest here we have on the property that is all pecan trees, right?
That's right.
So the tree ID part is going to go away. We won't be doing that this year. We'll be just focusing on tree measurement, trying to determine what the volume is of a specific tree. Okay. So with that, Chad, I'll turn it over to you. What you started how you want to here. Okay.
I appreciate that, Bobby. So we have here a log scale and tree scale stick. It also is able to measure tree heights for standing trees. It has a merit hypsometer on one side. You would stand 66 feet away from the base of the tree and hold this out to be able to get the height of that tree. You'd hold it up from the base. We'll demonstrate that later, but the tree scale stick is what we're going to be using to get that diameter for the tree. And so we'll go ahead and do that. So it's important that you measure at the DBH, which is the diameter at breast height, and that is 4.5 feet from the base of the tree. And so we'll walk up, and we'll make sure that we're lining the one edge up, and we're looking with one eye and just making sure that we've got that where we want it to be. We'll move our hand. From this side, I'm looking at about 23 inches diameter, and then you want to measure from another place because you're going to average these to see what that diameter truly is. And so I'm getting 24 inches from this side. So that's important because trees are not perfectly cylinders, they're not perfectly round, they're a little bit oblong, and so you want to make sure that you're averaging that diameter. Another tool that we have is a logger's tape, and so this tool is able to give us a much more accurate measurement. Somebody whose eye is attuned to using this tree scale stick can go right up and be able to get the volume. But using a logger's tape, we can measure at DBH as well. And we know that we have a 23.6, so we have a 23-inch diameter tree. And looking at this tree, I can tell you that there's only a half log in this tree, and that's an important note. With all of these trees here, we're going to give you the height of those trees. That way you don't have to guess on the length of those logs. And so there's a half log here, an 8-foot section of clear material. And so, Bobby, you care to show us that score sheet?
No, I don't care a bit. So this is really where it's a little bit different than what we've been doing in the past, right, Chad?
Yes.
So in the past, the student would have to determine how many logs, 16-foot logs, are in that tree, right?
Yes.
So this year we're going to give the student that number, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so here's what the score sheet looks like. Can you zoom in on that there, Jess? So that's what it looks like. So the first thing that Chad was describing to you was trying to identify what the DBH is. So that would be right here under DBH. Okay, and that'll be worth a total of 4 points. So the first thing you'd want to do is do what Chad just shown you, and we'll go over it again. We'll get Chad to do it again so you can see that done more than once. But you determine that and write that value in here. Okay, then you'll look in this column, and it's going to tell you how many logs that this particular tree number 1 is going to make. Again, you're not going to look at the tree because all these trees are really not marketable, right? We don't have any trees here close that are marketable, that have marketable logs. So we're sort of inventing this process, if you will. So we're going to give you the number of logs that's going to come out of that tree. We'll give it to you right here. So if it's a half a log, okay, then you'll look on the back of the stick to determine what the total volume is. And Chad, can you show us how to do that?
Yeah. So we know that we have a 23-inch diameter, and if we had a full 16-foot log, we know 23-inch diameter, 16-foot log, we go across. If that was a full 16-foot log, we would have 195 board feet in there. Since we know we only have an 8-foot half log, we're going to divide that by 2, and so we're going to end up with 97 board feet that we would put down on that answer sheet for a 23-inch half log tree.
So we know that's going to be a half a log again, right? Because in tree number 1, we're telling you we're only getting a half a log out of it. So that's why you divide the volume on your stick in half, because that volume represents a full log, and we're saying it should only be a half a log, right?
Yes.
All right. So, Chad, just for kicks and giggles, right?
Yes.
Let me try that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Here you go,
So,
buddy.
why don't we pick another tree just to see how well I do, which I know I'm not going to do very well, right?
Yeah.
Just pick one here.
What do you think about this one, Bob?
Hey, that'll work. All right. So the first thing is, I got to make sure I got this thing turned right.
That's
right?
correct.
Because one side of the stick, it says a tree scale stick, Doyle rule.
That's right.
Okay.
It's important because there's different types of log rules and tree scale rules.
Right. And for this event,
We're using
we're
Doyle.
using Doyle. So if you bring your own stick, make sure it's a Doyle. It has a Doyle
That's
rule
right.
on it.
Absolutely.
Okay? Now, by the way, we'll have these available to you, so you don't have to worry about bringing your own stick. Now, the other side says log scale stick. It also says Doyle rule. But this side won't give us good information, will it?
That's
Not
right.
for tree measurement.
Not for trees.
That's just for measuring out logs. So we want to make sure we get the thing turned right to begin with, or we don't have a chance of getting this right, correct?
That's correct.
So we want to hold this straight out like this?
Straight out.
Okay.
Arm fully extended out.
Close one eye.
Close one eye.
You know, I'm half blind, so if I close one eye, then I don't know if I can see.
Use your good eye.
Use my good eye. All right, maybe one of them's good. So straight out. Now we want to be at breast height, which is
That's right. 4.5
about through
feet.
here, right?
That's
so hold
right.
it straight up. Close one eye. We want to line one edge up with the edge of the circumference of the tree.
And with this flaky bark, you really want to get,
A little on the inside of the bark?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That way you don't overestimate the diameter.
Very good point. So what I'm looking at right here is, I'm going to call it 13.
13.
Now, you want to put your
Absolutely.
tape on there, and let's see how
We'll put
close
the
that I
longer
was.
tape to it. And we've got 13.7, so we know that's 13-inch diameter tree.
Would you round down, or would it be 14?
With the bark, you want to round down.
Round down. So actually, I did a pretty good job then. It actually is 13. So then I can take the back of the stick. If we're still using example 1 on the test sheet, a half a log, right? So if I go over to, make sure I'm on the right scale, right?
Yes.
It's a very important tree scale. Go to 13, it's 38. Divide by 2 is going to be 19, right?
That's correct.
So on this, under DBH, I'd write 13. And then over here, under volume, I would put 19,
That's right.
right? And then I would get the answer correct.
That's right.
Okay. With that, Chad, is there anything else that we can say? Where can you pick up them rule, that fancy rule you got there on your?
This loggers tape,
Yeah.
you can find them on Forestry suppliers or Ben Meadows. There's several different equipment dealers that cater to more forestry equipment.
Yeah.
There isn't anywhere local that I know of that you can get this equipment.
How about like Walmart.com or Amazon?
I believe
you
Amazon
find-
has some of this equipment. I have not found any of it on Walmart's website, but
Okay.
definitely at Forestry suppliers and BenMeadows.com.
You can Google those,
Yes,
find those.
very easily Googled.
And what's the name of that again?
And this is a logger's tape. And there's a few different models of these. So you want to make sure that the one that I use, this is a 100-foot tape, and it's in tenths of diameter on this side. And then this is your actual diameter equivalents of circumference in inches and tenths of inches.
And this is the side you'd actually use,
And this is the side that you use to measure those trees. And this is your true inches and feet side if you needed to measure out your 66 feet to be able to get your height and different things like that.
Okay. So Chad, one last thing here. If we was going to use this stick to determine the number of logs, say, in that tree.
Yes.
We can use the stick to do that, right?
Absolutely.
If this value wasn't given to us.
Yes.
Correct? So could you show us how to do that real quick?
Absolutely. So I'll go ahead and put my spike in right there. It just goes in just a little bit. And I'll go out 66 feet.
Now you come out 66 feet, right?
That's correct.
From the tree.
From the base of the tree, 66 feet.
So you come out 66 feet. Jess, you might turn the camera so they can see the tape stretched out there. So this is 66 feet. Now, what if you didn't have one of these fancy tapes?
You could, if you know your pace.
If you know your pace, right? You could step that off.
It
Right, but the key is to get as close to 66 feet away from that tree as you can,
that way
right?
You're accurately getting that height
all right.
of logs. And then using this merit hypsometer side that I mentioned earlier, they've got directions on the bottom here in case you forget. It says stand 66 feet from tree, plumb stick 25 inches from eye, line up end of stick with stump height, and then read number of 16-foot logs. And so holding this 25, so roughly 2 foot away from your eye, and putting it at the base of the tree, measuring up, and going to that first big limb up there on that tree.
So what are you measuring on? What are you looking for on the stick?
And
you got the bottom of it at the bottom of the tree.
Yes, so you
right?
got this at the base of the tree, and then measuring up, I'm measuring up. Really, you've got up until this big limb that comes up here, but I've got one log, and that's counting these lower limbs, which are going to make it a low value log. It's not going to be worth a lot, but you can go, I don't know if this laser will pick up with this camera, but you can go up to this limb as the stopping point, and you can get one log out of there. Now, we know it's only a 13-inch tree, and so with the markets, there's not something commercially that's going to go to, but just for looking at the principle, and if you were looking at this as a future forest stand that you were growing, that would be a good stopping place for that tree up there, and we would have about one log in there.
But again, we want to emphasize, for this event this year, this process here where we're trying to determine the number of logs in the tree, we're not going to be doing. We're going to give you that because we're using trees that really isn't marketable, and it'd be misleading to ask you to do that.
Absolutely.
So we're only asking you to use the tree for the DBH, the diameter at breast height, right? And then we're going to give you the number of logs, and then ask you to determine based on that diameter at breast height what the volume of that tree would be.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, we just go through this merit hypsometer and tree height portion at the end just to explain how that goes, not to be graded on. That's correct.
Well, Chad, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bob.
And hopefully all these kids watching this will be here at Wentworth Wood, and we'll get to meet you personally. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.